I'm going through the textual outline for the course, and I'm turning to the page on subject matter jurisdiction, which as I'm scrolling, as you'll see, it's page 5. I'm going to return to subject matter jurisdiction at a later point. Let me scroll back up to it. After we get through looking at not only New York State courts but federal courts, but for now, let me just say that subject matter jurisdiction, generally speaking, is the court's power to adjudicate a litigated matter, meaning what types of cases can a court handle. And I'm now scrolling to the next page, and we see New York State courts. In the first division of New York State courts is trial courts. And if you recall from the earlier recording about governmental subdivisions, you'll see under trial courts we have city courts and we have town and village courts. For our purposes, we don't have to be concerned about district courts, but those in New York State are state courts found in Nassau and Suffolk counties, down in Long Island. Please don't confuse these district courts, about which we're not going to say anything more, and the U.S. federal district courts that we'll be talking about and looking at in some detail a little bit later on. So we've got New York City Court, we've got city courts outside New York City, and we have town and village courts. I would note in passing that not all villages have village courts. Some villages have agreed that any legal matters that might have been in a village court will simply be handled in the town court. If my memory serves me correct, there used to be a village justice court in the village of Sloan in the town of Cheektowaga, and though the village of Sloan still exists, the village court was disbanded, so any matter that might have been in that village court now is in the Cheektowaga town court. When I continue down the list and I see county courts, one thing to keep in mind is that the 5 counties in New York City, the 5 boroughs, don't have county courts. And I want to then make a general observation about city, town, and village courts as well as county courts. What we would find in our hypothetical law firm if we represented clients in civil litigation, we would rarely, if ever, be in those courts. And the reason is, as you can see, at least for the city, town, and village courts, the monetary jurisdictional limits are on the small size, and we could say the same to some extent for county court. And you may have to take my word for this a little bit, but what I'm going to say is that our civil litigation in our hypothetical law firm, to the extent it's going to be in New York State, will be in New York State Supreme Court, and I'll be talking more about that in a bit, or in one of the courts of limited jurisdiction that address certain kinds of matters. So I'm scrolling to the next page, and you'll see family court, which is located in each county, surrogates court, also located in each county, and court of claims, which is statewide, and in different parts of the state there's a court of claims courthouse. As you'll see, the type of civil litigation in family court is family law matters, though not divorce. State Supreme Court handles divorce. Surrogates court is for estate administration for individuals who are deceased, and sometimes estate administration may give rise to civil litigation. For example, there could be what we call a will contest, where parties are claiming that a will should not be received into probate because there's some flaw to it. For example, an argument could be made that the testator, the individual who did not, who made the will, did not have the capacity to do so. And the Court of Claims, the last sort of special court or court of limited jurisdiction, is a court where people go if they're seeking monetary damages against the state of New York and state-related entities such as the New York State Thruway Authority. So, if someone was driving down the New York State Thruway and there was an accident that occurred at a construction site where they put out those different traffic control devices, the cones and the flashing lights, etc., and if a claim could be made that the accident was caused because the site, the construction site was not put together in a way that was safe, that lawsuit would be brought in Court of Claims. But what I want to talk about a little bit more, and that's scrolling up the page, is New York State Supreme Court. And again, to repeat a theme, New York State Supreme Court is going to be where we'll be spending most of our time if we're representing clients in civil litigation in the state of New York. And what we would note is that New York State Supreme Court is a statewide court, and we would also note that even though it's mentioned or described as State Supreme Court, it's not the highest court in New York. As we'll see as we go through the courts, the highest court in New York is known as the Court of Appeals. In other states, and of course in the federal court system, the highest court is the Supreme Court, but not in New York State. But if we had a breach of contract case, let's say involving what we could say commercial litigation, or if we had a divorce case or a personal injury case, by way of examples, we would find ourselves representing clients in New York State Supreme Court. Now, New York State Supreme Court, for purposes of administration and election of judges, is divided into different districts. For example, we are in the 8th Judicial District in the western counties in New York. But we're not going to have to worry about that for our purposes. At the trial level, what we have to be concerned about in representing litigants is in which county will we find our case in the New York State Supreme Court. And what I mean by that is when a case is brought in New York State Supreme Court, the party making the case has to select a county of venue. You'll see I've got venue in quotes. Venue is the place of trial. If you remember from our governmental subdivision material, there are 62 counties in New York, and one or more of those counties are the proper county in which to bring the case. And what we would see typically is that New York State Supreme Court then sits or is located in each county. And so if we went over to the Erie County Courthouse on Franklin Street and Delaware Avenue, and some of them in the City Court building as well, located around the corner, there are New York State Supreme Court judges, known as justices. In New York State Supreme Court, for cases brought in New York State Supreme Court in Erie County, would be handled in those courtrooms in front of those judges. We could say the same if we considered Niagara County. Niagara County is a little bit interesting for State Supreme Court because there are cases handled at the county seat, which is typically where Supreme Court sits, and in Niagara County, the county seat is Lockport, but also some of the judges who are assigned to New York State Supreme Court, Niagara County, are located in the state office building in Niagara Falls. We'll talk more about venue or how venue is selected a little bit later in the course, but I'm now scrolling to page 8 of the textual outline, where we see intermediate appellate courts in New York. And what I would say is our focus here is going to be on the appellate divisions of state Supreme Court. The appellate terms of Supreme Court are concerns downstate, and when I say downstate, New York City area and Long Island area, and we really don't have the time or the need to put them together or develop a real understanding of them. I've listed them because they exist. We also have county courts in the 3rd and 4th departments, which is in our neck of the woods, and those county courts not only are trial courts. Again, we're not going to be in them much at a trial level in civil litigation as opposed to criminal cases, but we may appear in front of them as litigators if we're concerned with appeals of decisions from city courts and county village courts. But our main focus for the intermediate appellate courts is the appellate divisions of state Supreme Court. So let's assume we've got that personal injury case or that divorce case in state Supreme Court, and a party wants to appeal. The appeal will be taken to the appellate division of state Supreme Court. Judges who are on state Supreme Court are selected by the governor to sit or to be a part of the appellate division of state Supreme Court. You'll see that in the handout that state Supreme Court appellate division is divided into 4 judicial departments organized by geographical area. Essentially, the western part of the state, including Buffalo, is in the 4th Judicial Department. Rochester has been selected because it's a central location in the 4th Department as the place where the courthouse is. So if we're an attorney and arguing a case in front of the 4th Judicial Department, we have to get up early in the morning to get to Rochester. I have then left out a heading, and so which should be in the outline but isn't, is the highest appellate court in New York. And I've listed the Court of Appeals, and that is a court that sits in Albany. And so if a litigant has been unsuccessful in appeals at the lower appellate courts, an attempt can be made to go to the Court of Appeals. Typically, to go to the Court of Appeals, the party needs permission first from the court to have the court consider its appeal. But that'll constitute our summary for now of the New York State court system. Again, I'm going to be talking more about subject matter jurisdiction and more about venue, either in a recording or a posting.